Alright, we're here for the first round with Legacy Infect, and it looks like we have a turn 2 kill, assuming our opponent is a goldfish. And we are on the draw. So, this hand is not something that I think I would mulligan in the dark. Obviously, if he's playing a removal heavy deck, it's better to play Glistener Elf on turn 2 so we can protect it with Vines of the Vastwood. But as it stands, if he, does something that allows me to believe he's playing some sort of combo deck, then I'll just play turn 1 Glistener Elf. Misty Rainforest. That could be a couple of things here. Likely a Delver deck, I would guess, but fetch lands don't really, tell everything. Neither do dual lands either. Lots of crazy stuff in Legacy. Alright, so it looks like he is playing Delver of the black-blue variety, probably Bug Delver. This matchup's actually pretty tough for us. I think I'm going to go ahead and lead here with the Glistener Elf. If he dazes me, that's fine, but Glistener Elf isn't really that important to the grand scheme of things. And we drew a backup, so next turn we can actually play the Glistener Elf number 2 and protect it with Vines of the Vastwood, should he have Abrupt Decay. But I would fully expect this to get countered with the Daze here, or maybe a Force of Will, but Daze is fine as long as he's not progressing his board and playing more big things like Tarmogoyf to block. But like I said, Glistener Elf isn't really the best in this matchup. Even Deathrite Shaman kind of forces me to either have Pendlehaven or just use a pump spell. But Wasteland here, don't really care about that since we have 2 more lands, but he doesn't know that obviously. And now our Glistener Elf gets around Daze and he can't Abrupt Decay it, so we can safely play that now on turn 2. Awkwardly, I have unmatching Tropical Islands due to Vintage Masters, and I owned 3 Tropical Islands when I was playing Rug Delver for a long time. So, alright, well he opts to Force of Will here. That's interesting. Pitching a True Name Nemesis. Not sure what that means. I guess he's just playing Bug, but he also revealed a Force of Will to his Delver of Secrets. Sorry. So we know he has a Force of Will in hand. Hopefully he doesn't have another blue card. I think we just kind of gotta jam our Blighted Agent here and hope, since now he flipped his Delver. Well, we drew Inkmoth Nexus too, so that's real good. So we'll go ahead and cast this Blighted Agent. We don't really care if it gets countered now, since we do have the Inkmoth Nexus. And Blighted Agent could meet Abrupt Decay. So Brainstorm here from him. It does seem like there's a good bit of lag here. I do apologize. The recording interface with version 4 is a little slow. My computer is not top of the line, but hopefully closing out the chat will alleviate a little bit of that, since there's not a constant stream of changes. Now, normally here I would just F6 because I would assume he has ooh, there's a Thoughtseize. Well, he's almost certainly going to take Invigorate. If he attacks with Delver, we can actually just activate both an attack and not worry about using any of our pump spells just yet. But well, he just doesn't have another land. That's interesting. But he does have Force, so that is somewhat of a problem. Maybe we'll draw a Daze and get him. Spell Pierce. Well, that is pretty good too. So we're going to go and Invigorate here to resolve it while he's tapped out with our Spell Pierce, even if he has a... well, okay. Well, now that makes me just want to go ahead and cast Vines of the Vastwood, because I feel like he would have countered that. We can hit him for 6 poison, though. The problem is I can't cast Vines and activate Nexus to kill him this turn, but we can assume that he doesn't have another blue card for Force Will, I guess. Probably just stuck with like 2 Abrupt Decays in hand, and yeah, I don't know if this is actually correct. Actually, now that I think about it, I kind of just want to hold Vines of the Vastwood to protect this from Abrupt Decay should he draw a land. Although he did just Brainstorm a turn ago and didn't have a green source, so yeah, okay. He just has a bunch of green cards stuck in hand. Okay, well, he decides to force this, pitching another True Name Nemesis. So we're just going to hit him for 5 poison, and I guess I could have waited one more turn, but he didn't force the Invigorate, so I assumed that we were safe. That is an aggressive attack here from the insect. I guess it's not terrible. Deathrite Shaman. Okay, so we are on somewhat of a clock. Man, if only I'd waited one turn. Perhaps that is one of the reasons why Tom Ross is the best player with this deck. Alright, so we're not going to use the Berserk here. I was thinking about doing it on the Blighted Agent since he can't cast Abrupt Decay right this moment. And then next turn, you know, hitting him with this. But I think he might hold his Delver back next turn to block the Ink Moth. If he doesn't, maybe we can get him. Maybe he'll just cast Tarmogoyf, but I'm just going to assume it's an Abrupt Decay here on our Blighted Agent. So we're going to be at a pretty low life total. It's definitely a race, but... Oh, well, I guess now we can crop rotation for Pendelhaven. But we can't quite kill him. And he's going to Abrupt Decay our Blighted Agent like 95%. 4-2. Oh no, we actually have to force him. Yeah, we have to force him to Abrupt Decay this, so I actually have to crop rotation here. I'm going to crop rotation for Pendelhaven and pump this. Otherwise, he's just going to nug me for 2, untap attack, nug me for 2. So hopefully this will resolve. I guess if he has another force and another blue card, that's fine, but we're going to go a little bit safer here. I assume he's just going to Abrupt Decay the Blighted Agent, but we're going to Pendelhaven the Ink Moth Nexus, and that'll keep us from dying. Although, I guess he could nug us with Deathrite and Daze. Interesting. Yeah, we probably played this game really bad. Ugh. Yeah, okay. So he's just going to hit us with Deathrite. Yeah, I don't know. Using the Vines a turn too early with Spell Pierce backup, and now we're just going to die to the Deathrite activations. And okay, we'll just concede this game since we're dead. I think I punted that, but I was trying to play around things that he may not even have had. Alright, so let's see. How do I board in this matchup? Now, normally you would think something like Submerge would be good here, but Submerge is one of those cards where your opponent can play around it if they suspect it, but at the same time, we're not really trying to, you know, one-for-one them to death. They're trying to disrupt us with Thoughtseize and things like that, so cards like Sylvan Library are good because they help regain card advantage, but for the most part, our goal is to just play a threat and protect it. I don't have a ton to bring in this matchup. Flusterstorm is pretty good since it's hard for them to counter back with it. The Forcibles are okay, but if he's using stuff like Thoughtseize and Hymn to Torok, it's a little bit too taxing. The Stifle is awesome. The Spell Pierce and Flusterstorm are fine. I could see potentially trimming down on Gitaxian Probes since against aggressive decks like Delver, you don't always have the luxury of using your life as a resource. We could potentially also cut crop rotations because it's typical for those to get countered, as you could see there, and they are quite disastrous when they are countered. I think I'm just going to trim on a force and a crop rotation and leave it at that. I like all the lands that we have. I don't really want Bojuka Bog, even though he has Tarmogoyf more than likely. The Piracy Charm is okay. It kills unflipped Delver, but it's not something that I want to rely on. And in that regard, I'd much rather just have the Submerges. Alright, so we're going to be on the play here, and I'm almost positive I could have won that game, and that's one of the reasons why, Tom Ross is such a master with this deck, because, he would have found a way to win. I don't exactly know how, or, I could probably reconstruct the game and figure out certain things I could have done differently. I think the one turn that comes to mind is a turn where I played Invigorate and Vines of the Vastwood in the same turn. If I had just waited, I would have drawn Berserk and been able to kill him. Or if I had just not cast Vines, I could have attacked for an extra 1, and that would have won me the race on that last turn. So I think overall playing the Vines was the biggest mistake. But so yeah, for this game, our opening hand is reasonable. You know, there's an argument to be made to just like main phase crop rotation right now to go get Inkmoth Nexus, but that plays around days. But at the same time, I don't really want to run too many of my spells into days. But I also don't want to run it into Wasteland, because if I just main phase it and go get Inkmoth Nexus, if he just goes Wasteland and kill it, you know, we're not in great shape. I kind of want to develop my mana base here with Brainstorms and hopefully draw into Noble Hierarch and a few other threats. Now I'm considering playing Brainstorm here. Let's see what he does. He casts Preordain. Yeah, we're okay with that. We don't really care about that. But since I like most of the cards that are in my hand, I don't really find there are too many things I want to shuffle away because I want lands and spells. So I think I'm going to Brainstorm in a turn to just use my mana more effectively. I think turn 1 Brainstorms actually happen a lot more with this deck than a lot of Brainstorm decks. Probably not nearly as much as something like Storm, but still enough. If he does want to daze, I might daze back. Not sure. Probably not. Alright, well, we drew 2 Inkmoth Nexus. What do I want to put back? I guess the crop rotation, since we already have all this other stuff going on, but with the way that our Brainstorm is working out with the Nexus, I do want to play a Nexus next turn, so I'm going to end up having to draw the crop rotation anyway. So we're just going to play Noble Hierarch and Inkmoth Nexus and pass. Now next turn what I can do also is, if I don't want to play the other Inkmoth Nexus, I can Brainstorm and then shuffle away the crop rotation. But alright, well, now I definitely just want to play the other Nexus. And drawing the crop rotation is fine, so because we can shuffle it away if he has another Wasteland. I don't really want to attack. That way I can potentially Brainstorm or crop rotation and play around days. But this feels weird. Feels desperate. It feels like he doesn't have another land, he's trying to find one. Although he did keep top a minute ago with Preordain, so maybe he, like me, is just trying to use his mana more efficiently. He knows he's not going to have a lot of time. So I think I'm just going to cast Daze, paying its actual cost. And now if he just goes like, you know, Wasteland you again, I can try to crop rotation. He could daze it, but I wouldn't, you know, I wouldn't be that upset about it. Alright, well, Abrupt Decay on my guy. I think I'm okay with that, but I kind of want to go ahead and cast this Brainstorm, similar to earlier where, you know, I like all the cards in my hand, so I only really want to shuffle away like one. And we drew a Noble as well, so I don't even want to shuffle away any of these. Huh. I guess crop rotation might be the worst of the bunch. So I guess we'll just get rid of that. We'll just play a Noble, activate, and go get another Trop. We'll just play the slow, grindy game. Now this is going to be pretty awkward if he ends up having a second Wasteland, but I want to try to apply pressure to him. We could have potentially held up for a protective Vines of the Vastwood, but I think I just want to get in the damage while he's tapped out. You know, he is playing the control role in this matchup, I believe, since you know, he has to be the one trying to find the answers to what I'm doing. Alright, Tarmogoyf it is. No land pass. That's good. Alright, I'm going to start by casting Blight Agent here. I don't really want to go for the kill. It's pretty likely he has something. I'm okay with him just trying to beat me down with Tarmogoyf while I attack with some unblockable stuff. A Submerge here would be pretty devastating. Not devastating, it would be pretty bad though. So, but I wanted to play around days, which is why I cast the Blighted Agent before I activate the Ink Moth. It's possible he has Submerge. I would love... Well, that's good. That was a really good draw. It's possible he does have Submerge, and he was just waiting to bait me out to cast the Invigorate. But I'm fine actually just grinding him a couple points at a time, since we're actually ahead in the race. He's at 4 poison, and we have roughly 2 a turn, depending on what he does, as well as Vines of the Vastwood to protect, and we also have a Brainstorm for some backup gasoline. So another Tarmogoyf. Alright, well, not necessarily winning the race anymore. Well, I'm going to go ahead and Brainstorm here. If we find a Daze that could protect us from Submerge and give me a reason to kind of just shove. Alright, well, we did not. Sylvan Library, not really what I want to be doing right now, so I think I'm just going to keep a fetch, crack it, and play another Brainstorm. Like, I really want to find something to protect me from a potential Submerge or a counterspell from him and just go for it. Plus, I might just draw Invigorate Berserk. That's something that happens a lot, actually. So, alright, well, we will keep... I'll keep the Vines up, I suppose, to protect from a removal spell. Next turn, he can tag me for 8 down to 5. I guess, yeah, I can't, and then next turn I can just try to Vines with Force backup. I guess that's not terrible. Alright, so turn off auto yields accidentally F6 just in case he has Submerge, which I don't think he would go for it because it would just kill him. Unfortunately, we could not keep the Force and this, but I don't really want to go for it. You know, he could have a Thoughtseize. We could play around Daze. I think I'll just wait one more turn. He can't kill me next turn. Like, he could draw a counterspell or play a Force of Will effect, but I think Submerge is my biggest fear. Which, if that's the case, maybe I should have just kept the blue card and the Force and the Vines on top, and then next turn went for it with that away. Next turn we can actually attack with the Nexus and do it as well. That way we don't expose ourselves to Abrupt Decay. Let's take 8. Probably means I should have held back the Blighted Agent to potentially block. Although I can do that next turn maybe. I can also block with Noble as a last resort next turn, unless he plays another Tarmogoyf. Alright, let's just go for it. We'll hold back these 2 guys. We don't have to go for it here. We can just block with the Blighted Agent, but then if he draws anything, we're in a lot of trouble, so I'm just going to go for it. If he's got it, he's got it. He has to have a counterspell, and no, he basically just has to have 2 counterspells. And he's forcing here, so he has to have another force. And we still have 2 blockers. Send him to 8. We have a lot of outs to just kill him, so looks like we just got him now. Sweet. Alright, well, waiting felt good because he had the force instead of anything else, but there are arguments against it, so. Alright, well, I guess I like the configuration. The Sylvan, obviously, in that game wasn't great because we drew it too late. It's very good in the early turns of the game, though. If they're, wastelanding you and Thoughtseizing and him to Torquing you. Trying to figure out if I actually do want the second Corrupt rotation just to help out against an opposing wasteland. Or if I potentially want any forces or submerges instead of this other stuff. I think I'm going to keep it as is. Alright, well, this hand is pretty good. He kept his 7. Probably just gonna... Well, I'm hoping he doesn't lead with Delver. Delver is usually the one that breaks the back. It just puts too much pressure on you too fast. Deathrite Shaman I'm okay with. Although I am going to be powering up his Deathrites, but I think that's okay. You know, next turn I'm going to go ahead and Ponder. I could potentially Brainstorm or just Sandbag and cast Brainstorm like next turn, but I want to go ahead and Ponder, try to dig for a few more mana sources in case we get Wastelanded. And, you know, also just to find things like Inkmoth Nexus. So. Alright. Ponder it is. The more I think about it, the more I could have easily won game 1, I think. I just played around something that he likely didn't have. You know, he was burning Force of Will on Glistener Elf early in the game. Well, all these cards are fine. It is a Ponder for 3 spells, but I kind of want land, and I don't know if I'll be able to pay a lot of life with Sylvan Library if he has an aggressive draw. Maybe that's actually an argument against Sylvan Library if we're on the draw. And plus I may be dazing next turn, so I don't think I want any of these cards. I'm just going to throw them back. And we hit Nexus. Perfect. Alright, so let's hope he doesn't cast a Liliana. I think that might be the worst card for us. What's kind of hilarious is that if I really want to, I can invigorate his creature and then daze it to protect my Tropical Island from a wasteland, and that's something you could do in a very desperate situation. But all right, let's go, buddy. At least we have like mild protection from a Liliana. But now, normally I'm all about dazing Tarmogoyf. You know, that card can be pretty good against you. Just a huge guy who presents a clock. But with our current hand, I don't think dazing that is correct. I think I actually just want to cast the Blighted Agent, and in order for me to do that and actually present him with a significant amount of pressure, I need to let it resolve. Plus, there's always the danger of him just dazing back, and then, you know, I'm stuck with, like, nothing. So... Alright, let's go, buddy. What you got? Wow, Umzao Jite is not something I was expecting. Now, I think that is something I have to daze. If this resolves, which it very likely will, since he has dazes and forces in his deck, then we're going to be in a lot of trouble. Yeah, I mean, I've seen more and more Delver decks just have a couple of Jites in the sideboard just to help out against elves, and that's splash damage against us. And, you know, obviously I didn't bring in any of my disenchants, so, well, that is very fortunate that that happened. So, we're going to go ahead and lead with this Tropical. Again, I have another situation where I have a handful of awesome cards, so I don't mind brainstorming here end of turn to save mana. That way next turn I can go Inkmoth into Blighted Agent. Give me 1 second. Alright. So, another thing Brainstorm lets us do is that if we draw a Force of Will or a Daze, it gives us a few more options on what to do in response to what he's doing. I don't really care about Ponder too much. Although if he follows that up with a Wasteland, that could be bad. Actually, that was dumb. I should have, since I had 2 fetch lands, I actually should have led with a fetch land. Although I did not want to, you know, particularly keep his Deathrite Shaman from... I'm sorry, I didn't want to, you know, keep turning his Deathrite Shaman on as far as mana is concerned, but I think that should have been much less of a concern than just making sure that I don't get wastelanded out of the game. Like, it's not so much that, you know, obviously I have more lands. It's more so that I just, like, can't actually cast spells to keep up with him, so... Alright, well, let's go ahead and brainstorm. I don't mind if this gets dazed, because that means Blighted Agent doesn't get dazed. And it's very likely that this resolves. If he wants to counter it, I'm perfectly fine with that. So, ooh, well, we got some goodies. Alright, well, it doesn't actually matter. I think I'm just going to play Nexus and Blighted Agent, although there's a chance that I just play Noble and stifle him, maybe? Or maybe play Nexus and Noble Hierarch. This is actually a really interesting turn. I could just probe him and then figure out what to do from there. I think I'm just going to do that. Stifling his Volcanic here could be good because it keeps both his Deathrite Shamans from being active. But knowing what's in his hand could be awesome. If it's Abrupt Decay, I think I just go Inkmoth Noble. Although I could just go Inkmoth Pass, Stifle. Let's figure out what's going on over there. 3 Abrupt Decays. Alright. He also pondered, so if he does want to fetch away the top couple cards, that's actually fine. Alright, well, we're not even going to bother with the Noble yet. We'll just wait till next turn and try to get a freebie out of him. But I'm going to go ahead and stifle him to keep him from being able to shuffle those away. And also to keep him from activating his Deathrite Shaman. But he is not dead. He is dead if he does not Abrupt Decay the Noble Hierarch. That is for sure. Unless, of course, he draws a Wasteland, which would be very bad. And I would look really dumb for stifling the Verdant Catacombs. Alright, there's an attack from a boy. It's good news. Now, if he doesn't hit the Noble Hierarch with a Decay immediately, there is a threat that he is just going to die. Although there's a threat that he's just going to die anyway. What I could do is just play Blighted Agent and maybe bait him into, going Decay on tap Decay. But I want to get in the point with the Inkmoth here. That way next turn, if he doesn't do anything, I just get to kill him with a double Invigorate. And there's also an argument to just cast both Invigorates now anyway. Although it does not play around a top deck Daze, it does play around a future top decked Counterspell or Thoughtseize. Although he's pausing here with that Deathrite Shaman, which means he may have drawn Disfigure. If he drew Disfigure, then I could get him with the second Invigorate. He won't be taking lethal, obviously, but yeah, I'm just gonna go for it. There's very little harm since this Blighted Agent's basically a dead card. I'm all in on this this guy. Yeah, I could have waited a turn. That's unfortunate. Alright, well, we'll go ahead and now if we draw... I should have waited on that one too. God, I'm just so dumb. Now if I draw Berserk, I'm going to feel like a dummy. But I didn't want to get Thoughtseize. Yeah, see, this deck's really hard to play, Like, especially, you can't really figure out exactly what they have all the time, But, like, I could have played around Daze there, but, next turn, what if he has a Force of Will and has drawn blue card Force of Will or something, or if he just draws a Thoughtseize or Hymn to Torok or whatever. So now he's at 5 poison with 2 Abrupt Decays in hand, so and he drew a Wasteland. Yeah, okay, well, yeah, I guess I should have saved the Stifle too, but so he's got 2 more Abrupt Decays and a land in hand, so we're just gonna have to grind through that, hopefully. And he's just gonna kill both of these, and then we have to draw another one, and then a way to pump it. Now, I could potentially save the Blighted Agent in case I draw a Vines of Vastwood. Yeah, I don't know. Again, both the game. I'm probably going to lose this game, and both game 1 and 3 was very winnable. It's very difficult to talk at the same time as playing, and also I'm just really bad. Tom Ross would have won, and I wouldn't have been close. Alright, well, I'll just go and play both of them. Force him to burn both his decays. I guess this is... I mean, it's probably worse to do this than to just wait for a Vines of Vastwood to protect, but then I have to draw another pump spell after that, and it just compounds. I don't think I played this game very well. The decision trees are numerous, though. At least, you know, he's not really dealing us a lot of damage with his Deathrite Shamans. That could end up being, you know, the way he kills us. If he gets a second black mana, he starts dealing us 4 points a turn, which is pretty big. And yeah, he drew the Misty, so there's that. I wouldn't be surprised if he just main phase Abrupt Decay on Glistener Elf to play around Vines of Vastwood, and then okay, well, we drew an Inkmoth. Now we just have to draw a pump spell. Alright, we're not going to attack. If he draws a Tarmogoyf, we could potentially we could potentially chump block with it, but seems unlikely since he does have that last decay. Well, the Inkmoth was good. Let's just hope we get super lucky. We have two. Let's see. There's a Brainstorm gone. 2 Brainstorms gone. So we have. Oh no, just 1 Brainstorm gone. Another Deathrite Shaman. Last card is Decay. We need an Invigorate or draw spawn to Invigorate or Vines of Vastwood. And we'll get him. Otherwise, we're probably going to die. That was a good draw. 3 more draws. There's Invigorate. Man. This deck's stupid. You know, just casually peeled the perfect. Knowing his hand still from earlier. Just the best ever. Alright, well, we did not play particularly well. We did get very lucky. I think all 3 games were very easily winnable if I just take the right lines, even without having to get lucky. I mean, as you can see, the deck's very powerful, and I just kind of peeled out on my opponent, and yeah, it was pretty good. But anyway, guys, that's round 1. We'll be back for round 2 in just a few.